Hey, so thank you for following me, those that you are following me because you're a nice person. Um, I don't know how many there are, but I appreciate those that have sort of let me know, like, hey, I'm still like your friend, and I still think this is Joseph Smith, and everything. Yesterday was kind of a super hard day because it's just one of those things, like struggling with gossip and unkind people, and then you just trust. I trusted someone, and they just weren't very nice yesterday. And then I vetted them. I'm like, why didn't I vet you before? Because you're friends with, I found out they're friends with the entire family, someone that was really not nice, right? It's just really, I hate that. I hate that people can be so nice, but then they hear a bunch of things and then they're just so mean. So someone you think you're emotionally safe with, you can open up with, you're like, could be like a friend, like, oh my gosh, like you just feel like you're living in a nightmare. But I just hate that members of the church can be so mean and gossipy. We're not supposed to be. And I just hate it, right? And there's just not much more. I don't go into detail, but I'm really nothing related to the paper or the photo, really, except I was judged. And, the last video that I made about Elizabeth Frater, I think I was just in shock because some of the traumatic things I went through was because someone had problems like her, and so I was just kind of feeling it. So it's not an entertaining video. So I'm sorry, guys. It's not an entertaining channel, but I appreciate that I've had new followers. So like the video, subscribe, watch it. I just wish there weren't people that are obsessively watching it that are just so mean to me and just say such mean things and try to argue. And I'm like, I don't want to like argue. Like, that's why I brought up Chris Charm. Like he's trying to argue about every like details of the paper. I didn't write the paper. Like I understand it. I'm not a forensic anthropologist. I don't really have any idea what his training was, but everything Tegan has told me and how she's explained it, but she also has taught classes, and so has Machi, in specifically identifying people in photos. So someone who's never even taken a class saying that they know more than them is ridiculous. It just is. And they never had an issue with the hairline. But there's artwork from life. This is post-mortem. We do know that it was called the Two Martyrs. But he's wearing some clothes that I see in my picture. So I think that jacket came later. We often saw I'm sorry, a different jacket that did not have that type of normal lapel. He often wore this more stylized lapel that was uniform, probably in a blue because it's been painted in blue. So it has military outfit. I don't see any details of that, but these are from life though. And this is a sketch that it was apparently July 1842. And so what we have now on my website is just these short videos that have no audio. So if I say nothing, like there is no audio, even though it has a volume button. And so there are a couple that are profile life pictures, and then there's the one forward facing. But I'm pointing out, okay, Joseph said, if he said touch your left eye, Joseph, it'd be this, he touched this eye. And same thing here. If he's getting sketched and he says touch his left eye, this would be his left eye. So I go back and forth. I'm not talking, but I'm like left eye, left eye. Do you understand? And things aren't going to line up perfectly because obviously it doesn't go past the iris, but I sketched the whole eye. That's the whole. It's not the whole eye we're seeing, but the shape of the eyebrow. I'm just moving around a little bit because things get decreased in width, obviously, when you are taking a photo or drawing someone from the side. But what I do see is that it is this unknown artist, but you don't see anywhere else when it talks about it because it's not that well done, and but everything indicates it's from life, so it did get included. But just even the shape of the eyebrow is very similar, so that eyebrow really ends where the sclera ends, which most eyebrows go past that point of the eye, past the corner of your eye. It just sort of most eyebrows do, and Joseph's right eyebrow did, but this is an indication that his left eyebrow didn't. And that was something that they talk about in the paper. So it was Tegan and Machi talking about in the paper, right? So if we went back to here and saw, like they, or that's an identifying feature. And there are several things, many things they mentioned that are very unique, but I get really into the details because I'm a detailed person. I'm very wordy. Um, I think I started having a problem rambling when I went through some trauma 10 years ago. So I apologize for that. It's just not going to go away. Some people stutter, some people ramble. I used to be the person that just sat there and listened to people and gave good advice. I would talk about my life, but I rarely had long stories because my focus was dance, dating, drawing, painting, and singing and acting. It wasn't into researching things but when I went through trauma and I had to know all the details of what I went through then, and I know the details of what I went through this year, 10 years later, something traumatically totally different, but just as scary, but in a different, but worse way. It just really devastated that I thought I could trust someone yesterday. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I kept saying, like, well, if you know these people, like, I don't want to open up about this and that. And just thinking I have a friend. And I feel like they lied, right? I hate that. And you see in that video about Elizabeth Fraser, someone with those problems was the catalyst of this trauma recently. Just same problems, and that's why it's not an entertaining video. But I do want to bring awareness is all. Like none of these videos are entertaining. I am an entertainer, but not the talking. Unless you give me like a script or something. I don't know. Even then, I don't know. So, but yeah, I apologize that I ramble, and it's made me lose a lot of friends. I think my personality changed when I physically went through like in a hospital. It just was trauma and some mean girls. And it was just like, well, anyone can see that these girls are really mean as well. And these medical professionals in the hospitals, my appendix burst and just, I went through hospital abuse in a hospital, and people witnessed it and saw it. It was horrible. So it's a scary, awful world we live in. But anyway, it wasn't mental health. It was just like literally like appendix post-op infection, and then oophorectomy just a handful of years later, and that was also traumatic, but it wasn't as bad, but it still was a horrible experience. So any experience I've had in a hospital has been awful. And anyway, guys, uh, things just still feel fresh. I'm really upset about the Elizabeth Fraser thing. I don't know. But you can see that there's no talking, there's no audio, so there's that video. I definitely see, so they say in our paper that essentially like it could be blown out, like there is light distortion, things are blown out, right? But they think that eyebrow really looks like that. I mean, eyebrow, you can see eyelashes, you would see the full eyebrow, right? But there is light distortion areas that are very light, like color, and I think a white forehead that hasn't seen the light of day. They wear a hat all the time, and he's very, very Caucasian. So, so then there's more videos where I did with this profile by Maudsley. Again, it's a profile, it's not even 100%, and the nose is actually aligning as far as I do know, just from the death mask, I'll preface this, that the eyes are off. Because I do know that where the nose protrudes is about right there with the orbital bone, but you have it way up where the eyebrow is. So the eyes were just drawn a little bit off. He wasn't a perfect artist. He wasn't that bad though. Like even with this, I think even though this is it's not known, it really is Justin Ephraim Hatch's book, Joseph Smith Portraits, Search for Joseph Smith Likeness. It was a 1990 something book. We can look it up. I don't even know if it's being sold. Like a lot of these books, most of these books about artwork and Joseph's face are just out of print. Look at that. Wow. The only thing that comes up is my website. So but if you go to the Church History Library, they have the book. Okay. So going now down past that. So I mean, I did a video where I'm talking about like now, but like you can go to the website and just hit full screen. There's going to be no stupid pop-ups from YouTube. And I've done that maybe a couple times on this website, you know, where I just uploaded a video and everything. And it goes away. So I'd already watched this and tried making this video before, but if you say, Joseph, touch your right eye now, and if he, those are both his right eye. If he was facing that direction, touched his right eye, that would be his right eye. This is his right eye. So if he turned to the left, you would see the right side of his face, which he did for this sketch. And so I sketched the details. I sort of redid this several times before I screen recorded and made it larger and bigger in that video. But in this one, I'm just not adjusting the size, and some things are off by Maudsley. He just didn't put things perfect alignment. The eyes and the nose weren't done right according to the death mask, but the shape of the eye is amazing. Okay. And again, it's a profile, and then I sort of move it around to show you, well, these wrinkles, I could even just, he's got this large wrinkle, I think it's that wrinkle, and then that, I think that one is that, but of course, things are distorted when you turn to the side, right? So it's not gonna fall into place, but I take the eyebrow and show you. Again, this is just a minute long. The shape of the eyebrow is amazing. When you look at it that way and you do see, okay, it is a lot thinner, then it gets thick, 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 farther out, a lot thicker. And then I do the nose next. But the eyebrow, really, really good. I even sketched the ear. You could totally debunk the Larsen daguerreotype just by the ear, by looking at the artwork, which is very consistent that his ear shape, the inner part of the cartilage, looks a lot like this man's, and nothing like the Larsen daguerreotype. And so that's the bridge of the nose. And so I think the eyes and the nose were off in alignment in Maudsley's sketch. But that would be like his eyebrow, his nostril, like the height of it is really good. The width of it is perfect. That's Maudsley's artwork. And so he did not hide that Joseph had imperfections there. Whereas David Rogers did. And David Rogers had a very depressed, I won't say anymore right now because we're still looking at Maudsley's, but Maudsley wasn't afraid to show the receding hairline, the wrinkles, all the wrinkles. And then, you know, the chin and the mouth, like it lines up really well. Not like 100% perfect. Now I'm talking about the ear. And then I'll go back and show you the ear, but that is the sketch of the ear. And it matches very, very well. Of course, there's a profile looking at the forward, but you see that the inner part of the ear, that shape is very unique. Your ears are like a fingerprint, according to Teague and Lucas, and just their whole. Sometimes they will just look at the ear, and it's like it's like a fingerprint. Your ears are the shape of the cartilage, and everything is extremely unique. So, but that inner part, and then just that little line coming out on the side. It's hard to tell if someone is attached or unattached. I was being sarcastic on that. I made a comment in the comment section. It was just the whole point of it was I talked about unattached earlobes and attached earlobes on Curtis's video just because it was someone went on about attached earlobes for like 4 emails from the Church History Department saying they could tell Micah had attached earlobes, but Joseph didn't have attached. So I don't think Micah has attached earlobes. And they kept showing me pictures of artwork from life saying, look, he has unattached earlobes. Your guy's attached earlobes. It's not him. I was like, I don't think no, I don't agree. So I said that, but definitely. So the church historian was going on and on for about 4 emails saying Joseph did not have attached earlobes. And I can see what they're pointing out in artwork. And guess who has 100% attached earlobes just because there's no rounding. It just, you can see his head is turned a little bit, so you can see the earlobe. and see his attached earlobes. The Larsen daguerreotype. Earlobes look nothing like the artwork, and there's the cartilage shape in general. And so last but not least is oil painting, and you can kind of jump around and look at all this. That Joseph Smith III said this oil painting that I am comparing was painted when Joseph Smith was 36. He died when he was 38, and the artist was from New York. He said that in 1879 in the Saints Herald, which was the RLDS newspaper that he was editor of. It was published this in an advert less than a month after he donated the photo of the painting to the Library of Congress. But Emma didn't think it was a good likeness, and Joseph didn't think he looked like a silly boy. They both said it didn't really look like him. And Janae Wells said Joseph Smith was very depressed. And I think he would have bowed his head if he was down and out. I don't think his face was, I don't think his chin was up normal. I think that's why things are off. But anyway, because I've compared it to the death mask, and you go to William B. McCarl, controversy, go to the bottom of the page. I have my 2020 video where I compare this painting to the death mask, and the nose is completely off. The eyes are too close together, and the hairline is just, the hair in general is, that's not Joseph's hair. It does not match Maudsley's artwork. He could have worn a wig. He could have just had, his brothers were there. Rogers could have painted with Joseph Smith's brother's hair that maybe was befaunt. Maybe Sam teased his hair, but I doubt any of his brothers spent hours on their hair and were like, I just don't think so. I think it was artistic liberty. So you see how I as far as sketching, and I made this comment on my YouTube channel, that without being specific or quoting anyone, I did ask, like, well, is this something forensic scientists do? It's okay, was sort of the response, but it's not, I won't say who it was, but I'm in that, this isn't an exact quote either, right? But the point they made was that you're covering things when you're sketching over it, so you're hiding something, whereas when you do morphological comparison, you're not. So, and then often these people write papers, but it's good in, I'm saying this now, it's good in a video because you take it away. I can put it there, take it away, so you can see what is below there. What it's like a very specifically me as an artist of sketching something. And so basically, I know I didn't invent this. I now remember specifically when I was researching how to do layers, I was seeing that artists in 2017, it was a fad. This is where I got this, okay? This is where it came from. What I'm doing right here is they would do cartoons of themselves, where it was a full on, like, made themselves look like sort of, but it was exactly there. They would exactly sketch their face on a layer like this, and then they would colorize it, cartoonize it, but it would be exactly their face. And it was a fad, and that's how they did it, by doing this. So it was artists that did this. This is why I call it an artistic technique. That's why it's not in our scientific paper. I did not write the paper. I am an artist. I do have a medical background though. I am a certified medical assistant, and I've took many years doing that, and many years also being an artist. So I do have medical knowledge. And so Tegan and Machi were like, oh, they heard some medical, I remember she saw medical terminology on my website. And so they did grow me and like wondered how much I knew, and really did offer, like, maybe you could help write this, but I didn't write it. But the fact that my name is on it, very kind of them. And then I'd done a ton of research. They used my research, and some of my words are in it, sort of, but there isn't a paragraph written by me though in the scientific paper. The analysis is 100% not done by me. It is their techniques. I've talked to many other forensic scientists. It's the same techniques of, like, holistic categorizing, morphological comparison, and they reference some of the people they've referenced I've talked to, and I don't know if they're going to do anything, right? But they haven't all worked together, totally different separate group of people that might do something, but I don't know. It would involve other people letting them, which I think a lot of, not saying anymore. I hope it happens, right? But someone's already analyzed my picture. it's just it's done, it's happened. And I think as far as I think people would be like, not, they don't want to go criticize someone's work or right. I don't think that's gonna, they don't do that. I mean, they might argue, I don't know. It doesn't seem to be something they want to attempt or anything. But I'm pointing out the shape of the forehead's really good. The cheekbones, where the chin is, the mouth, shape of the nose, and it's just it's a almost 3 minute video. But I'm going back and forth and showing you things and pointing stuff out. But I can just drag that eyebrow, so things are off, right? I definitely, the nose is totally off. The eye shape, a lot of things are really really off in the death mask to the painting, right? But I think he was bowing his head or just in a depressed manner, not like in prayer. Sometimes you're depressed, you just kind of, your chin just goes down, and he was really unhappy as the painting was being done. And so he didn't, he maybe got him to, he might have line painted all of it and then got him to bring his chin up or got him to laugh. There's a lot of artistic liberty according, clearly reading, hearing what Emma and Joseph both said. So that eyebrow, when I drag it down, then I see it matches. But when I do that ironically, suddenly the nostril almost matches. But the nose and where the nostrils, the shape of the whole nose in general, like this whole part of the nose, does not match the death mask at all. Except that you can see the nostrils really well. There's and then I bring it back in the correct location. But the alignment of everything actually can go off of the nose, especially when you tilt your head down. A lot of things change. But I'm like, here's that dark area, there's that cheekbone, here's what I've sketched. I've sketched when things really started to get dark right there in this cheek, and it's very high up. You can tell that's very high up on the top of the cheekbone, but it's darker, right? But also you have to understand this whole area is a little bit skewed because he's got these two collars. Okay, do you see how it looks like two collars? It's just, but he's got this whole thing wrapped up way up almost to his ear. The scarf is almost up to his ear, and then this is covering a lot of his face. But if he was in hiding, maybe he intentionally wore this older 1830s style to hide his face because he was in hiding. All this artwork said 1842. He was in hiding because of J.C. Bennett, and the Misery Mob was after him. But it's interesting that certain things of the mouth do match really well, but the mouth itself doesn't really match the death mask that well either. So you can go here and look at this video at the bottom of the page, or just go to my YouTube channel. But this is a 2020 video. I've mentioned this several times. I did this a long time ago, very beginning of 2020. And then end of 2020, I had researched the whole painting and everything again. And then I'm like, wait a minute, just so many. 2020, I found out a lot about the paintings just because someone was asking me about it. And then it didn't end up in the paper, but they were asking about it, and I found out a lot. But you can see that the nose, this is a sketch of the painting. Nose is way off, way, way off. But it's not interesting. But this side of the hairline, the forehead, like this almost matches, goes off. But do you see how it's a straight line? Like the forehead has that normal curve, but on the left side, it's a straight line. He fell on his left side head first, and something wrong happened to his. He didn't fall on his face though. He rolled on his face. He didn't fall on his face. There's damage, I'm sure, to his head. The skull that Six Doctors thinks is Joseph, there's huge, like, jagged line right there. Right there. So, and it has that same odd straight line. Which you can go here and see. You just go all the way to where the skulls are. I didn't create a page for that, but and I was hoping that they would talk about the skulls and everything, but the reasoning it seems consistent across the board with several different forensic scientists what they just using. You see that straight line, and that's how the death mask looks. Like there's a very jagged line. So 6 doctors believe this is Joseph's skull, whereas there's a normal curve and things seem pretty normal on that side. I mean, there's a hole though, but it seems to be the left side that's very, very messed up. And you can look at photos of the skull, but this is my sketch of the skull. And of course, the one that is buried is Joseph, but the 6th doctor thinks is Hiram's. You can see totally different situation, like the normal rounding, like everything's intact all around, normal curves and everything. So, but yeah, so please do check out Life Drawings page and see that they've got 1, 2, 3 videos of superimposition of sketches from the Life Drawings, which none of them are all that great, but it's amazing the things that do match my picture. The artwork does match. Anyway, have a good day.